In January and February 1813, Cartwright undertook a second tour, holding meetings at 35 places in the Midlands, north and west, in less than 30 days. This tour and Oliver's tours in 1817 remind us that we are too ready to emphasize the difficulties of communication before the coming of the railways. At each of these centers, there was a nucleus of reformers who had undertaken arrangements for the meeting. Cartwright placed himself at their service, no matter whether they were gentlemen, small tradesmen, artisans, or weavers, and he presented a correct, cold shoulder to the tepid gentry and large Whig employers who were scandalized at the rabble with which he associated. Even his old colleague Wyville denounced him in a pseudonymous pamphlet for countenancing Luddites and incendiaries. When a dinner was held in his honor at Sheffield by the Friends of Parliamentary Reform, a manufacturer who considered himself to be a reformer was outraged because the dinner tickets were priced so low that the company, with few exceptions, were of the lowest rank. The annual Parliament and universal suffrage men predominated, and the chair was taken by one of our violent men. Cartwright claimed that he returned from these tours with 200,000 signatures to reform petitions. A further tour in 1815 took him to Scotland. The meetings did not pass unmolested. At Huddersfield on 22 January 1813, only a week after the execution of 14 Luddites, his meeting was invaded by the military, papers and petitions were seized, Cartwright and local reformers, mainly working mechanics, were arrested, and only the major's evident knowledge of constitutional law prevented further persecution. In Bolton, Rochdale, Salford, reformers collecting signatures to his petitions were imprisoned or victimized. We may suppose that as Cartwright passed rapidly from town to town, the incipient clubs which he left behind him had the greatest difficulty in maintaining themselves. It was not until 1816 that they struck root in the manufacturing districts. The strongholds of Jacobinism had been in artisan centers. It is not possible after 1815 to make a clear definition. At different times between 1815 and 1832, agitation against particular abuses, income tax, tithes, the corn laws, sinecures, swept in very many sections of the population. Manufacturers, farmers, small gentry, professional men, as well as artisans and laborers, shared the demand for some measure of parliamentary reform. But the consistent thrust behind the reform movement came from the industrious classes: stockingers, handloom weavers, cotton spinners, artisans, and, in association with these, a widespread scattering of small masters, tradesmen, publicans, booksellers, and professional men, from among which groups the officers of local political societies were sometimes drawn.